Feels good to be back behind the recording chair here.
Like an actual setup, a table this time, and multiple cameras and lighting.
Like, and normally I don't care about video when you're here in person. So this is like a whole nother can of worms. The last one we did was Arcane, season 2. So now today, obviously, is Chainsaw Man. And to kind of wade people into this, because we're going to do this our way, which is going heavy on like the symbolism and the motifs and imagery and things like that underneath the surface. And I think Chainsaw Man is one of those shows where it's just chaos and over the top from the start.
Yeah.
And kind of depressing. And so I think people are going to be like, what do you, where's the depth here? I have a couple of notes that I was doing earlier today to kind of start, because the first impression is just like Shonen Jump style, just kind of over the top, depressing. And we're going to assume people have at least watched up to the Reze arc, at least in the anime.
Right.
So if you care about spoilers,
right.
But just assume you've watched up to what's released anime-wise, and then go from there.
So that'd be the first season and the movie.
Yes.
Cool.
The premise of Chainsaw Man is that this world is full of devils. But it's not devils like we in the West think of. It's more of like different personified or embodied evils. Like the things humanity fears most. And this doesn't actually really become clear until probably like episode 3 or 4, maybe. Like you get a hint of the gun devil early on, but it's like super ambiguous. And then you have like the counterpoint, which is Denji and his little puppy dog devil, which is the chainsaw devil called Poochie. And I think to start Poochita, right? I guess they call him Poochie. For short, the manga does a better job of creating the emotional tether between him and the Poochita and Denji, because they have that like flashback sequence where it's like, I'll give you my heart if you show me your dreams. And that to me, it feels like the through line of the entire show, or at least of the entire manga. It's like this grounding thing that like is what drives Denji as a character to continue to grow.
I want to touch on the devils first. The idea is that they're made manifest by a collection of people fearing it.
Yes. Like the stronger or the more people fear a thing,
the more real it becomes.
Yeah.
Certainly in the context of the world, it's the more powerful the devil itself becomes.
Yes.
Already injecting a bit of symbolic thinking in here by saying that it's made manifest by the fear. That's in a kind of classic rationalistic evangelical fundamentalist this worldview.
Mm-hmm.
A devil is something like an entity. If they talk about demons or anything at all, it's something like an entity with an equivalent kind of reality as you and I, but it just lives in a different plane.
Like a singular being or more powerful being than what humans or mortals.
It's a supernatural guy.
Greek god is kind of what we think of them as.
It's lamer.
Probably though, because they don't have as much special powers or like.
It really is. It's just like some gnarly little fucker that has kind of reality like you or I, but just lives in a different plane of existence that somehow like whispers in your ear.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's about as sophisticated as it gets in the kind of pop view of it. In the more sophisticated Christian views that are like Orthodox, or I'm sure some forms of Catholicism, a demon is something closer to a collective intelligence. Just like an angel is a collective intelligence. We're definitely going to get onto this idea of the chain of being at some point in this, which will help. When we flush that out, will make a lot more sense. So I'm just pointing out that this idea of a collective, something manifesting out of that has a kind of agency out of a collective common attention, is a Western idea.
Right.
And so it's interesting to see that emerge in Chainsaw Man.
Right. So I guess to kind of lead you where that like the symbolism is like it's a collective human fear made manifest. They're all representations of an element of people. Like the first one we meet is the Bat Devil, and that one is pretty clear, like just kind of like a gluttony type, you know.
Yeah, it's a big scary bat.
Yeah, he just wants to eat people and drink their blood, you know. It's Dracula incarnate type character. But then you have more sophisticated ones later on, kind of like the one in hell, which is the oh my God, I always forget the name of it.
The Darkness Devil?
Yeah, Darkness Devil. And that's like a fear of the unknown.
And that'll be that's spoiler alert.
Yeah.
That's in the manga. We don't see that through the Reze arc.
We're not there yet, at least as far as the anime goes.
Right, but the power leveling amongst the devils is determined by the amount of sort of collective fear.
And I get even illustrate that as they show early on, I think it's probably episode 1 or 2 with the like 0.1 seconds, how many people die from the gun devil using it, how many people just die, and it's just like it just goes exponential. And so one of the cool things that kind of just like a thought experiment was to continue to explore this, because the world of Chainsaw Man feels roughly contemporary, but not as technologically sophisticated as we are, at least with all the technology like internet as much.
Yeah, and they talk about the Soviet Union.
So it sounds like maybe 80s or something.
I don't think I saw a cell phone.
And so the question you could like posit here is, if you could think of this idea of collective fear, what would in our world you would think would be more powerful devils?
That's an interesting question.
We don't need to answer that now in any sense, but it would be a fun thing for even the audience to play with as they think about this. Like, what do we as a society, maybe even like you can pick like by country, like what would the US fear most? What would, et cetera, as a society? Because I could see, like, after I was starting to think about this as I was writing these notes, I was like, oh man, that's a fun game to play. Because like when you think about what we fear as a society, like what we're feeding, that kind of shows like what you're most afraid of.
There's a interesting parallel in culture to a kind of reality of this concept of a devil or demon, and that there's an argument that I think it's in the book Kill All Normies. It's about how our politics now sort of was downstream from an internet fight between Tumblr and 4chan, and that these two worlds were sort of mirror images of each other. One was kind of female coded, female dominant, and very much about safety and protection and a kind of hypersensitivity. And then the other one was the total opposite, that is male coded and insensitivity. One virtue signals, one vice signals, and that these two things came into being by harassing each other online. And that dynamic fed into these things until they grew bigger and bigger, and then bled into modern politics and Twitter. It shows you that there's a certain amount of reality to this thing that would have had no real impact on the world had they not met each other, and that their fear of one another or disgust for one another, the attention they gave one another, fed into their enemies. And so my disgust and hatred and fear and anger towards you amplifies that your work, and to the point where for years on end, we had woke people talking about how there's all these fascists and all these Nazis, and everybody's going, what are you fucking talking about? Until finally they create the very thing that they were afraid of. And so the devil has been made more powerful by the attention that they gave to it.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it's like, because you ran this secluded experiment, right? Like it's two niche online communities of relatively young people at the time when it starts. But then because they play this game of this reciprocity, I don't even know
Reciprocity?
Yeah, reciprocity, thank you. Where you basically, they feed their own circle, right? Because
there used to be
expands.
Earlier internet, people used to say, don't feed the trolls.
Yes.
That died, unfortunately.
Totally died.
But there's some truth to that, right? That the thing, you're feeding it attention, and then you make things worse, and it grows as a result of the attention that you give it. And that if you really want that thing to die, you suffocate it, or you starve the thing out of the attention that it feeds on. And you could see how what's happening in Chainsaw Man is intuiting something that really happens in real life.
It's cranked up to 11 version of this thing, but it's trying to symbolically, or like it's trying to beat you in the head, like, hey, wake up, like we're doing this, whether we mean to or not.
I don't know if the author is aware of what he's getting onto here.
I don't think so.
Probably not. And I've seen tropes like this before in anime. Like I think it was called Noragami, which is an idea that there are gods that exist, and but they only exist insofar as you worship them.
Okay, the belief in the thing makes it more powerful.
Right, and there's parallels to, this too, is that there's many things that are real, but are real as a result of the attention that we provided.
Yes.
In our belief in it. One example being the banking system.
Or even just money.
These things don't exist in nature, but our collective agreement and belief that a bank works. If I'm going to go there, I'm going to take my money and I can pull it out later, that I can still use the money. And all of this kind of global economic system is predicated on our collective belief that that thing is doing what it's supposed to be doing, that it is doing that thing. If I suddenly think that if I give a bank my money and I'll never see it again, then I'm not going to give my money to the bank. Nope. And then the bank won't get any money. And then the bank dissolves. It ceases to exist. It will literally cease to exist if everyone stopped believing it. Now, I prefer to have a banking system because it serves a function. But the point is that there's a line that you could say that when we're talking about things that are real, as some things that are real regardless of human existence, and then there's some things that are real predicated on human existence and belief and so on. And that is something like the same distinction that's made between heaven and earth, mythologically, is that everything that resides in heaven is the product of collective attention.
That's pretty good. I guess the only thing that's different in Chainsaw Man is there's really goodness in the world. Everything is devils, because even they have the angel devil.
Yeah, it tells you something about the kind of worldview. It's terrifying.
It's not very, I mean, trying to zoom back into the story itself, even Denji as a character isn't so hopeful. I think as the arc of the story progresses, you see glimpses of a thing, because outcast in society. So to paint the picture, it starts of the story is he's kind of living in like squalor, effectively. He's got no home, basically has to fight for food. He's a devil hunter already, or a bounty hunter of some kind.
Yeah. As low as the Yakuza are,
yeah, right,
he is beneath the Yakuza.
He's beneath them.
Right. These are symbols of Denji being lower than the low, that he's a joke to them. They look down on him. And they're supposed to be the underworld. So he's beneath the underworld.
Oh, that. And then he basically gets put into a trap. I forget exactly why, but they kill him. And then that's when Puchita gives him his heart to merge with Denji so that Denji doesn't die.
Okay, let's pause.
Yes.
So they kill him because they enter into a contract with the zombie devil. Okay, so he's beneath the undead. In fact, he gets consumed by the dead. Right, so he's in the underworld already. He's with the dead already.
Wow.
Okay, so that's setting up the starting point for Chainsaw, for his whole story.
Yeah.
Because what I think the story is an ascent through the chain of being. The chain of being is a very, very old idea. It comes from initially Plato, who talks about these forms. A form is something like a perfect expression on a higher plane into which our world participates, that we're pulled into it. So there's, let's say, a triangle in this form space, platonic form of a triangle. And then all the triangles that exist in reality are matter, or whatever it happens to be, that has been drawn into the form of a triangle by this perfect form. They're instantiations of some perfect thing. What Aristotle creates a hierarchy based on it, where at the lowest level you have things that are the most unformed, and then things that become increasingly more complex unities. You can think about it like that. In a really kind of more modern way of thinking about this, relying on guys like John Vervaeke and Jonathan Pageau, what you're seeing is something like, how do you say this? There's a biologist named Michael Levin, and Michael Levin is doing research on bioelectricity, and he's been influenced by these forms. And so he's aware of all this kind of thinking, and he's doing these perturbation experiments where you basically try to mess with biology and then see what happens. These are not questions that traditional materialists would even ask, but if you're coming to it to see if forms exist, you might ask these kinds of things. So one of them is he takes these worms that they have basic brains, and they train them to go through a labyrinth to get food or whatever. And then after they've mastered this labyrinth, they cut the head off, and it'll regrow its head. But the crazy thing is that when it regrows its head in its brain, it solves the labyrinth. Okay, so where were the memories?
That's crazy.
You cut its head off.
Outcome of that.
Okay, so what that's suggesting is that there's what's called an attractor. A really basic metaphor would be like you have a bunch of water in your sink and then you pull the plug out and you watch all the water get sucked down the drain, right? The drain is the attractor. It's drawing everything into it. And it's something fundamental in nature. That there's a bunch of fundamental attractors in nature that are pulling things into them, up into them. And so there's actually a attractor or a form of this worm that exists. And so even when it's perturbed, it's sucked back into the funnel again.
It has a natural form that it wants to stay in.
Right.
It's like a homeostasis, I guess.
Yes. Built into something like nature itself that's really. And so even when you cut the head off, it rebuilds the memories because it's pulling it towards a purpose. And you can do this with they did this with fruit flies where they carved out the genes of the fruit flies for the eyes and then had eyeless fruit flies reproducing. And then spontaneously after 14 generations, they regrew the eyes. What? How? Took the genes out.
Well, there's genetic determinism out the
It's dead.
Because that means it figured out how to do it with different genes.
Yes.
Somehow. That means that it's not just the genes then.
No. What is happening is that to explain a final experiment, he creates these things called anthrobots that are a collection of human cells, usually from the trachea. And these cells had the same genome as humans. So if you looked at it, you'd be like, it's like pond scum or some bacteria in a lake. But if you read it,
and your throat doesn't walk around.
It's not, is your throat navigating an environment? So he thinks that it's intelligence actually all the way down and that the cells are actually intelligent in a very basic way. And that when the cells come together, they're forming a common unity, that there's a purpose under which they're all organized and try to make happen. And then the cells create multicellular organisms and the cells create tissue, organs, and then an organism. And what a human being isn't a machine out of which spontaneously intelligence emerges. It's rather that the intelligence is a priori. It's already there. And that it's a collection of intelligences unifying to create a human being. And what we are is an ecosystem of intelligence.
And it's all just in the form that we and you are, right? Like in your body.
So here's back to the idea of the chain of being, is that each of these layers of reality, these steps in the chain or links in the chain going up, are representing the amount of collective intelligence that is organized at a given level. So like a low level will be the cells, then the multicellular, us, and so on. And then above human beings is family, tribe, community, state,
city, nation.
So you have upscaling of intelligence all the way from base matter up to God.
Right.
Which is what the Christians do with Aristotle later.
Solving, right? Like any sort of complex organism will use whatever tools it has to navigate its world. Like the cellular example.
Yeah. The cells are trying
out of this. It doesn't mean that it's like conscious in terms of like, I think, it's a thinking thing. It's just that it is aware of its environment and will use tools at its disposal to interact with it, to narrow view of what we consider thinking.
Well, we think thinking is what we do. But what if what we do is just this level of how thinking manifests?
Okay.
So thinking exists from bottom all the way up. But what that pattern is has a slightly different character at each level.
Yeah.
And so we're assuming that anything that deviates from us is not really thinking, but actually maybe it's all thinking. It just has a slightly different quality.
Oh, that's super interesting. It makes me think of like electronics, because you can take like a subatomic view of it, like electrons moving around in wires. But as soon as you zoom out, you don't need to care that there's electrons moving around in wires. All you care about is how much voltage and current is around, and is it yes or no, and is it balanced for the system that it's operating in. Like, it's helpful to know the underlying theory, but it doesn't matter about how it manifests.
That's
effect of like, okay, does the camera work or does the microphone work? As long as it's getting power, you don't care what the wires are doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't have to care about what your stomach is doing while it's digesting.
Right.
Though I'll say that I think it was Levin or one of the people that are in that circle of doing this kind of stuff also looked at the cellular level when they tried to get a computer to do something and found that the cells were actually cooperating in order to allow for the computation to happen.
Well, that's weird.
So they were going out of their way to make sure that the computation you requested could be done.
Yes.
Which suggests that the computer in its own right is alive already.
Because this seems crazy.
I've tried reading some of it. I'm grateful for.
Does he have a
the
book or
interviews
something
that he's
yet?
done. I don't think he's done a book. I've only ever really seen podcast interviews with him talking about this stuff.
Does he? Because I feel like he might have been on Lex's podcast.
I'm pretty sure he's been on.
Because there was a guy where he was talking about bioelectricity. I remember at one point he asked him, I was like, are you teaching anyone this research? And he's like, me.
Yeah, he's the only dude.
I'm like, how has no one gone to this level yet? Because I remember when I was first in school and then I found out like your heart creates its own electrical.
Yeah.
We're tangent. So we're talking about like how cells generate their own electrical charge. Like it's like a clock, like an electrical clock. That's all bioelectricity from our cell. Like the mitochondria actually generate charge. Obviously, it's probably picovolt, like super small, but you multiply that through an entire organism. Now all of a sudden, some of this esoteric stuff of like, you're a charged being or whatever, and you run on electrical signal.
It looks like he's interested in bioelectricity because it looks like that's the way that cells are communicating between each other. They're using electricity, and that your neurons use electricity, basically a hyper specialized form of the kind of communication that the cells are already doing.
Oh, okay. It's just like the central processing.
These highway spaces for information. And that you can actually, he thinks that what cancer is dissociation. So at the same level of psychology where you have a dissociative experience where part of your mind is basically snipping off from the rest of it and going its own direction, and then you have the kind of split in the personality. What's happening at the biological level is a kind of dissociation where the cells are actually going off on a different purpose from the rest of the body.
Anymore, so they become like a rogue agent within the body.
So you have a group of cells that have gone fucking rogue. And that what you can actually do is
the best way I've ever can.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so what you can do is you can learn to speak the language of the cells, bioelectricity, and communicate with them and tell them that they're going off track. I think he's done this in mice. You tell the cancer cells in the mice, you're supposed to be doing this purpose, not this one. And they go, oh shit, my bad. And they correct themselves.
No way.
So the cancer cures itself by realigning its purpose.
That's insane.
The point that I wanted to get across by this entire tangent, the idea of the chain of being, is that what Denji is doing is, from the human level, organizing a more sophisticated life.
So I was going to say he's starting from rock bottom, or even
bottom,
or even lower than rock bottom.
Totally isolated and alone, lower than even the Yakuza who can manage to run an organization.
Yes,
right. So he's a single intelligence entirely on his own, and because he's entirely on his own, everything's terrifying.
Yes.
So the world is populated by devils. If you're at the lowest part of being, if you're low in being, your world will be populated by devils. You'll be afraid all the time, and everything will be scary to you. Where serotonin is basically a status tracker, but so it tells you where you are in a social hierarchy. So if you're really high in serotonin, you're fucking hot shit. There's a group of monkeys, a bunch of male monkeys and lady monkeys. They take the alpha out of the equation. And then they give one of the lower monkeys a bunch of serotonin, just hit him up. And he's the alpha monkey in no time. And the first monkeys to notice are the ladies. So, like in the movies where the guy gets the globe or whatever, and he comes in with a suit and stuff, and he just came, or like what's that movie where the guy takes the pill and he becomes a super genius?
Oh, Limitless?
Yeah, Limitless. Right. So he just took a serotonin pill, basically, is the idea. And then walks around and all the women are like, did you get a haircut? Something's different about you.
The suit is nice on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so that happens to the monkey. And then he becomes the alpha monkey. And then they stop giving him serotonin and they put the old alpha monkey back in and everything goes back to the way it was.
Wow.
He falls back down the social hierarchy. That must have been pretty discombobulating for the monkey.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
2 weeks where I peaked.
I know.
In high school.
Now they made an incel monkey.
Yeah. A resentful incel fascist monkey. Straight up, because if you're low in the social hierarchy, you don't have the kind of social support you would have if you're higher up. You're not just in social danger, you're in physical danger. You are at great risk of being just exiled, thrown out, and then on your own, and probably going to die in the woods somewhere. Right. So you will feel anxious and terrified and alone and all these things in that place of the social hierarchy. So Denji is at the lowest of the low in the social hierarchy, and his world is populated by devils, and he's afraid of everything. That's what the world looks like from a protagonist perspective.
And he has no security, right?
No.
Because like he becomes Chainsaw Man, or this hybrid of some sort. There's many characters who ask him like, oh, what do you want from this world? Because most of these people come from somewhat well-off stories, or they're still tragic to some degree. We'll highlight a few, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Denji almost has to like learn how to be normal.
Yeah.
Like want anything.
Yeah.
Hear it throughout the story where he's like, oh, I barely had anything to eat. This food is great. Or like having a bed, having my own room, like having a toilet, like normal creature comforts that almost all of us take for granted. He's never been afforded that. And all of a sudden his life flips. Where he's being told like, but you have to fight.
Yeah.
You do have to earn your place in this world.
Notice, okay, so he's at the lowest of the low, and then he has a transformative experience. After having a transformative experience, dying and being reborn, then he starts to ascend upward. The ascent is guided by a series of purposes.
Right.
And so the early purposes are something just like food. Right. So it's very basic. It's concrete. It's the lowest level of needs. When he's able to get food, he's able then, okay, that's established. We've achieved that purpose. Now I can dream about higher purposes. He gets to the point where he's like, I just want to touch boobs.
Yeah.
God bless him.
A true guy. Teenager, especially.
And it's great because this is part of why I like Chainsaw Man, besides the fact that it's off the wall, is that unlike every other bizarre fantasy incel nonsense that you see, that either goes full porn or you have some weird protagonist that never fulfills these things. And like,
yeah, they remain
obnoxiously so. The way I was able to touch a boob was by, I tripped and whoa.
Yeah, right. It's like
happened.
Slapstick.
Which is like the author couldn't conceive of a way other than an accident wherein they'd be able to touch breasts. Whereas what Chainsaw Man does, it says, is that he accomplishes something basically to achieve that goal, or that he gives in some ways the woman what she wants, and then in exchange she's able to do this. And as low as that still is, it's higher than the fantasy bullshit you see in 90% of it.
But I still think the interesting part is that when he achieves most of these goals, he's like, oh man, this wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Notice how important that is. He achieves the goal, and then he realizes that this wasn't what I thought it was. For a moment, he gets disillusioned. He wonders if any of his goals are ever worth pursuing. That's a valid question, right? You wanted to be valedictorian. You worked your butt off. You're like, this is going to be amazing. You have that excitement for 10 minutes. And then life kind of just keeps doing what it's doing. And you go, oh, is this everything that I'm going to do?
Right. What next thing that I should be chasing?
This is a rat race?
Yeah. And it sounds silly when you like lay it out, but we all play that game. Get the promotion, get to the end of, pick whatever it is you're chasing. Once you achieve the thing, you're going to be like, well, what do I aim for?
So that ascent is...
Yeah, there's ladders.
Now, Makima steps in. We can go back to her because she's complex and intentionally bizarre, like, veiled.
It's hard to place her early. Even where we're at in the anime, she's not fully revealed yet. We'll try to warn people when we
get to
away, because she's one of the most interesting characters.
So we'll get to her in a moment. We'll circle back. But for a discussion of what she does for him is take him out of his disillusionment by saying, yes, she gives him a higher purpose than this. She gives him something a little more, what's the word?
She's like
hard to grasp, but the goal itself is much more amorphous, a little more mysterious, a little more implicit, more of a vibe than something as concrete as grabbing a breast. Because she says that it's not touching a woman. It's developing a relationship with her that then arrives at the touching. And that's what imbues the touch with meaning. And she's right. She's totally right about that, despite what she is, right? So
like a sense of distance from her too, evenly, if that makes sense. Because you think she's not what she is, but like,
yeah.
I'm trying to leave it vague for people.
Worried about even saying what she is.
Yeah, too soon.
Because if you know what she is, then you'll know where this whole thing is going.
The whole veil falls apart. Like, it's kind of like Wizard of Oz, right?
We're going to need to reach a point where we go spoiler time.
Right.
But we won't be there.
Yeah, to get there, I want to touch on at least power and Aki.
A period on this thought about the chain of being. That what allows you to ascend the chain of being, which means that able to incorporate more information and intelligences under a common purpose, is the ascent from one concrete purpose to a higher one. And it's a like launching up.
Right. And that's why I want to move on to the other two supporting characters of this, because I think their fuel, their additional rungs that act as like trampolines for Denji as a character to keep ascending.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so to start first with Aki, because he meets Aki after he meets Makima. And he feels like the older brother.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I think that he fits that archetype to give people an image of who he is. But he's kind of this traumatized, duty-bound, kind of, I think in a different story, if you rewrote the story, you could rewrite Aki as the main character.
Yeah.
But his story is in some sense more tragic because he's kind of like the person who feels so duty-bound, has the weight of the world on his shoulders, that he sacrifices everything, including his humanity.
Yeah.
My life has been ruined by the gun devil. I'm now forever aimed at taking that out.
Yeah.
You know, and then he meets Denji and he's like, what the hell? Like, why am I a babysitter? What's going on? And it's like this reluctant, like, you have to be the brother here because he's half devils.
Yeah. So, okay, we could touch on power and Aki. I'm going to get real psychoanalytic to explain this. And if you want to read something or watch something psychoanalytically, what you do is you assume that what's happening is actually all inside of the head of the author.
Oh, interesting.
So they're parts of the psyche of the author. So Denji's clearly the ego, the I as I see myself. But then you get the introduction of a Freudian superego and id. And the superego is Aki, right? So he's ordered, he's structured, he's purpose-driven. He's a representative of society, right? He's a businessman in his precision and his dress and everything, professional. And then you have power, who's all base instinct.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of all of them.
And what you have is Makima is actually the reason why they're all aiming at her. Look, so even power, who's terrified of her, is terrified of her because she structures the instinct.
Power is afraid of control.
Yeah.
Like any sort of control.
Because she's a fucking animal. Yes.
Interesting this would come out of Japan.
So,
you know, everything's in its place.
So I'll shift from Freud to Neumann. So Erich Neumann was the star student of Carl Jung, wrote a book called The Origins and History of Consciousness. And that's basically where I'm getting this. And he talks about these levels of being. Now, he does it he's not thinking about it that way. He's thinking about it as the development of myth, and that over the course of our history, these myths settled into our psychology, and then they guide our development. And so you move through these mythological phases as an individual as you develop. And so they have both a mythological element, but it corresponds to something psychological, a state of your psyche. Yeah. Denji begins in the Ouroboros, which is non-distinction. Everything, it's chaos.
Struggling to even survive tomorrow.
Yes. Above that is the matriarchate. This is the principality of the great mother archetype.
Would that be power?
It's Makima.
Oh, okay.
It's the great mother that has dominion over, you could think, all the elements of the author's psychology. Makima's.
Yes.
So it can't see their intentions.
And even when you see her like use her abilities for the first time,
it's mysterious. You don't know where this is going.
It seems like all the guys are like super into her in some way. And then everyone else is kind of like, she's scary.
which is
It's like
part and parcel of a developing young man who is simultaneously trying to escape the grip of the mother to become an independent person, tempted to fall back into it because of the comfort and the ease, right? And the Oedipal situation is when the mother conspires with the child to basically steal their agency so that she can have someone who never leaves her. And the child agrees to that conspiracy because they want to live forever in the womb, right? Constantly, to never have to think. It's the pleroma. It's this basking in bath. So you have Makima playing the Great Mother, and she's the deity in purpose, the thing that he wants, that's organizing his psychology. And she even gives him more psychological structure than he had before. Before being an ego alone in total chaos, he become without any understanding of himself or the world. Really, what you have is a home, and inside of that home, in order
the family unit
is a family unit of a super ego, and id. And that they come into a relationship with each other that actually balances them out. And Makima even makes a comment to Aki at one point about how he lets power off the hook.
I remember that line specifically.
And she kind of notices that he's doing it, even though he's trying to keep it veiled. And she says, maybe Denji's having an effect on you. And he's like, no, not at all.
Yeah, not.
But it's making him more reasonable instead of a dissociated intellect.
Right, where he's all duty bound, head first into the.
That is just a pure persona, has no real relationship with one's instincts or anything else. And they think that they're being hyper rational and all of these things, but really they're a fucking degenerate. Just going around and drinking a whole bunch and acting like a maniac. They're perfect professionally, but the second you see their personal life, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Right. It's a psychoanalytic view. Thing is happening where you can have a dissociation between this kind of persona, superego, that the ego as it understands itself, and the instincts that need to be reined.
Because even like to look at the other dynamic between Denji and Power, they start out super adversarial. And over time, they develop a more like, I think it evolves even further, but almost like a brother-sister relationship where they understand each other. But then I think it actually evolves one step further than even the author he leaves it hanging.
We can't get it. Yes. We're not there just yet. We'll get there. But
I think it's one of the most wholesome moments
great.
Of the entire show, that it's like, if you don't pick up on it, it just...
You're missing something important, actually. So there's one cool thing about Power, too, in that relationship in their house, is there's a point, I think it's in the show, where when Power moves in, right?
Oh yeah, it was just Denji and Aki at first.
Right, so first it's just super ego imposing itself on ego. And then there's a point where Power moves in, and what's happened is Denji has been civilized, and so the authority moves down the chain.
Yeah, doesn't
Denji starts reigning in Power. Right, so what you have there is society telling you how you should behave, you reigning in your instincts. And in a proper, when you're
arguing about like food or cleaning up, I'm like trying to remember the specific example. We process so many of these cues subconsciously. It's like you're on a boat and like you have a tour guide like points out different things, whereas like there's all this stuff going on in the stories from an artistic standpoint that all of our subconscious is picking up on it. I think part of the reason that modern films, in a lot of ways, people are, this is terrible, is because there isn't enough these beneath the surface cues that tell us we're in the world. Does that, am I saying it the right way?
The reason the Chainsaw Man resonates isn't because it's just like fantasy and it's fun or whatever, which there are films like that are just pure, like sugary junk food and you're just enjoying it because it's crazy. The reason that something like this resonates on a deeper level is because you are in the same world, living in the same world. It's a subjective world. It's a representation of the world from like the ego outward. What does the world look like to you? How do you experience the world? It's identifying the aspects of that world and personifying them and then giving them a character.
The thing that's interesting is like the best stories personify elements of real people.
Of being.
If you wrote specifically like two real people, they'd be mundane and boring. And you wouldn't be able to distill it down enough to teach a lesson.
It is a necessary simultaneous distillation and exaggeration. Because if you take all the information to be totally equal, But then you put in a value system. So now immediately that happens is some information is more valuable than other information. Now you've created a hierarchy. And so you've distilled some portion down, right? Taken out all the noise, and you've exaggerated it by, bringing it to the forefront against the background of noise. And so you have to, as an artist, you have to exaggerate. It's a necessary part of explaining anything in experience is a form of exaggeration. I'm talking about something specific. Don't go on too far of a tangent. Don't start talking to me about breakfast. I don't give a fuck. Don't care. Right? You have to give me the real importance.
I think I have a point about the Reze arc, which just came out.
I'll give it another period that as Denji's ascending the chain of being, by pursuing purposes, it organizes his psyche under the purpose of Makima, the great mother, that then integrates his superego.
And that's kind of why I wanted to move on to what feels is the midpoint of this first major arc, because it feels like it takes forever for animes to be produced, because they're just getting, rightfully so, they can put more and more money into producing these things. But honestly, waiting is probably not a bad thing in terms of forcing out content for content's sake. And so I think the reason I wanted to move to the Reze arc is this arc is like a inflection point in Denji's character development.
Yes.
And so to kind of paint the picture in a broad brush, like walking around and he'd just gone on a date with Makima, but he's like, I don't know, like he didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Until there's one last movie and it's like really interpersonal.
Should have paid more attention to that.
And it's like both of them are bawling and almost everyone else in the theater is not. And you're kind of like, what is it? Yeah. But it's like they basically had an opposite reaction from one film, whereas everyone else was enjoying all the others.
Yeah.
Denji doesn't know really what to do with it. He's kind of dejected and he's like, I don't care. My heart is only for Makima. Cue the life happening. He meets this really cute girl that seems into him. And it's not veiled and it's not whatever.
And she's a peer.
She's about his age.
Right. So instead of being a superior, she's a peer.
Yeah.
So he's beginning to establish a relationship with a woman who isn't in authority, but is a peer. So not a mother.
And so then they basically, it's kind of like a speed point where he kind of gets to pretend he's a normal boy. Not to pull a Pinocchio.
Like he's introduced into something wholesome.
Yeah. Like he's what a regular life could be like.
Yeah.
Having conversations.
And they have a whimsical
experience. It's almost like a fairy tale, like an old school fairy tale.
Yeah. It certainly has the kind of magical.
And he actually learned something from her.
Like something beautiful that reminds me of my own adolescence, like in high school, with these experiences, like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, where it's just like these moments that feel like they last forever. And you're like, wow, this is a great moment.
So there is an element of that kind of like coming of age, starry-eyed thing where you see someone you're attracted to and it fades as you get older.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a beautiful thing. I think it was Eric Weinstein who said that one of his family members who was older said that when they lost the word gay, like its meaning changed, they lost the experience of gaiety.
Oh, interesting.
That it sort of faded away with the culture. Because gaiety, happy, but they're not synonyms.
Yeah, it's like a different level.
It's a kind of whimsical joy with a tone of sexuality, where there is this kind of adolescent flirting, like maybe you skinny dipped one time in high school.
Yeah,
and like
it was summer camp or whatever,
you couldn't
right?
really see anything, but your heart was pounding, and
it was happening,
right? And there's right that thing, and there is a purity to it. So that what gay meant is what you see a bit in the pool scene between Denji and Reze.
Yeah. Interesting.
That they're having a moment of bonding.
Right.
Yeah. Right. He's beginning to establish a serious romantic relationship with the peer instead of regressing into the dominion of his mother.
Interesting.
Whom he still longs for.
Right. Because he feels conflicted throughout the entire story of this part.
Right. And of course, what happens is that he's being used. Right. That what's so fascinating about that scene where you find out that she's the bomb devil and that she's there to kill him or perhaps to
sure him or something. It's either to kill him or to potentially take him away from there.
It feels like she's trying to bring him over to her side.
Yes.
And I think that that's right. And actually, in a good situation, psychologically, she would successfully bring him over to her side so that he would no longer be under the dominion of the mother, but of the wife, to leave the family and to become a man and to establish your own family, to split from the family cell and to become an autonomous cell yourself.
Interesting.
And then establish a relationship with another. Right? Nature likes to do this thing where it creates a unity and then it breaks it into pieces and then it reestablishes it into a unity again of a higher order. And so that you have a family unit and the child splits from the family only to be reunified into a family again.
It just never ending splits and
yeah, but it ascends, right? So it adds more. It's not just
right.
It's
not just fractionating. It's actually
it's not family to family. It's family plus a new family. Right? So there's more than
it's like
in the healthy circumstance. He would go with her, but something goes terribly wrong, and the whole thing explodes.
Literally.
I think that is an intentional metaphor. Or as intentional as the unconscious is as it produces these things. It's telling you that something exploded.
Be something too about your first love.
I think that's what it is.
It's destined to explode because it just rarely ever works out because you're both barely know how to contain the extent of this emotion / passions of
this whole early stuff in Chainsaw Man is about what it is to establish a healthy relationship with somebody, to escape the family in some sense that, or some part of you wants to stay there and to become an individual. And then to do that with someone else. And so what happens is when he's a 16-year-old and he finally tries to establish a genuine relationship with the peer, it explodes. It blows up in his face. And you get a foreshadowing of that in the first season when what's-her-name pukes in his mouth.
Is that, oh no, you're right, old mentor.
So you get a sense that he has like kind of a boyish crush on this girl, but she's a lot older and more mature, and then just kind of
really brash.
kind of irresponsibly uses him.
Yes.
Right? Is the feeling is that like
she's taking advantage of the situation.
And he doesn't really know what to do with this. Yeah, really a neophyte, a child in this domain. And she doesn't treat him like that. She doesn't shepherd him. She doesn't, act as maybe
talking about like, oh, she's gonna try and kiss him. Yeah. Everyone knows it's gonna happen.
Instead, he's just one more fucking guy on a drunk night.
Yeah.
He gets publicly humiliated in a gross way. He hates it. Clearly, he's made sick by it. Right? That tells you a lot. I think that psychologically, the order of events is shuffled around in the story. That he would be made sick by whatever happened between them after getting drunk together.
Yeah.
Right. This constellation of associations helps you get an understanding of the feeling, what it is. So it's like your first foray into this world is a disaster. And then you try to do it again and it blows up in your face.
The other thing too, that like at the end of this arc, he basically tries to extend the olive branch at the very end. He's like, we could still, and she's like, what? Like, I just tried to kill you for like an entire night. What are you talking about? And first I was like, that seems like stupid. But now that we've been talking about this, and like a little bit earlier today when I was thinking about this, I'm like, wait, that's totally within his character. Because like you were saying, he's born of the underworld. And so for him, even just having a friend still matters more because he weighs the like positive interactions, like the fact that she taught him how to swim.
Yeah.
Still matters more than like the actual trying to kill. So he's like, for him, he's like, I'd rather have someone around than to be alone.
And think about, right, all this is psychological.
Right. It's not literal.
I mean, think about your first love, right? And if it ends, you don't understand these things. It ends.
Right, yeah. Like, how do I fix this?
Could we still be together? Like, it's over, but I still care about you.
Right. This is basically what it is.
Right? When you're young and to try to understand these things and the relationships and romance, especially if you have very little guidance, it's no surprise that after this thing blows up in his face, the night is over and everything is finally settled down and this sort of dust is settled. Maybe we could do this again. We just pretend like this never happened and just start again.
Yeah.
That's not that surprising. He's wondering, like, was it ever real? Did you ever really care about me? Kind of lies.
So of course not.
It's interesting. It's really interesting where it's like, you hurt me this bad.
And
Did you
yet,
ever mean it? Did you ever really mean it? Like, I still care about you. Did you ever care about me?
this felt real to me.
How could you hurt me this bad if you did love me? So this can't be real. And there's this simple, like, well, life is complicated. It was maybe real for a time, you know, or real enough for you. And then for one reason or another, she left. And that's going to depend on the individual. But this is part of probably why this show is resonate with people, is that it's connecting with that part.
I mean, speaking to this,
Yeah.
Kuchita is like, I'll give you my heart if you show me your dreams. I think you have that at the center, and Makima is pulling, right? It's like they're with intention of one another to some degree, because Denji at one point is like, that was his only companion. And so he feels like this is like his chance at a do-over. So he's not gonna do it right for himself only. Like, he's gonna show Kuchita everything life has to offer for his sake.
Yeah.
Not for his own sake.
It's really interesting. I was kind of debating about this a bit, because you see a lot of, in modern culture, this idea that to beat the demons, you have to become a demon.
Yeah.
And it's like we take on the demon's power to destroy them.
Yes.
That what happened, it's an inability to distinguish between good and evil, or good and bad even. Because there are certain parts of ourselves that if you do follow them, they'll just destroy you, you know? And from Denji's early and so I was thinking about this, right? It's like, okay, for the Western Christendom, we figured out what a demon is and what they are. And there's a whole demonology. You don't hear about this in like evangelical church, certainly not where I grew up. Nobody talked about it. But there's a whole demonology. What is it like? Oh yeah, the demons are things in your head that'll tell you at the same time they tell you that you're hopeless and everything is falling. It's your fault. Everything fell apart. You're hopeless. You're fucked. Like, that's where you live. It's simultaneously in the other ear telling you you're better than all this. They just ping pong you back and forth. So as your resentments grow and everything is collapsed, it just elevates you to this like inflates your ego in a psychotic way. And that's just bad. No, it just fucks your entire life up and you become an unbearable human being. That's all that does. So we figured out which voices in our heads and in others that will talk to you. They will be demonized and talk to you through that voice. They will rile you up and do all kinds of things. That required thousands of years of painstaking differentiation and discussion to figure out what parts of our experience led us upward and which ones led us downward. And so from Denji's perspective, at first I was like, oh no, is Chainsaw Man another one of these things where it's just like, yeah, the demons are good.
Use the devil's powers to beat become the demon to beat the demons.
Which is stupid.
Yeah.
And I was worried about that, but I think it's that Pochita, from the ego's perspective, in the belly of the whale, the lowest of the low, which is defined by indistinction. The world is chaos. You can't tell what's what. There's an intuition. The show can't differentiate between angels and demons. Everything's just kind of scary.
It's like the one positive example.
Right.
And it's the one thing that all the devils seem to be afraid of.
Yeah. From the perspective of the ego, who can't tell what's going on, Pochita is mislabeled as a devil. But Pochita is actually, for Denji, an angel. That's prompting him upward. Right? He's trying to help you ascend.
And it's the only thing that's kind of like soft and cute and...
Yeah, and innocent.
Yeah.
Right, and loving.
Yeah.
Right.
He's injured early in the show and Denji takes care of him.
So we could say that sometimes just saying these things explicitly helps them click.
Yeah.
With this kind of symbolic thinking.
Oh.
In the world that he was living in, his angel was injured and he had to resuscitate his heart in order to ascend and establish a healthy and normal life. If things are falling apart for you, if things are bad, part of your task is to try to kindle hope that there's a voice inside of you that's hurt. Yeah. and it's hidden far away. Like a little ember, it'll speak, and you have to feed energy, attention into it, like breathing into a fire so that the sparks grow.
Yeah.
Right? If you're at the bottom, you have to rekindle your injured angel, your sore heart.
Because it makes total sense why Denji would be one of the few characters that doesn't seem to give in to what all the other devils seem to do. And even some of the fiends.
What's interesting is that they portray Denji, especially in the Infinity Hotel episode, as being a total psycho who's like bloodlust, crazy. And there's something to that in this Ouroboros world. People get that way. They get it's strange. I've met people who live in that world. They don't know it. They live there, and there's a lust for violence because they can't distinguish between good and evil. They have no idea. They like the revelry. It's like a baby in the mud.
In my head, that's like a berserker's mindset. If you go back early Viking era.
Yeah, it's a kind of crazy.
Yeah, like a battle trance or whatever you want to call it.
So I'm happy they included that because that's true.
And it's part of this arc, clawing your way out of...
Yeah, actually getting out of...
being feral, effectively. Like, he was kind of like Power and stuff in the beginning, and then slowly but surely he gets more and more sophisticated. Like, even with the Reze arc, he gets more sophisticated, where you can be more creative with your skills, where he learned, like, throw his chains, and even then, he's like...
precise.
Yeah, he's getting more agency with how he interacts with the world. It's not just a blunt tool where he
not just crazy, undifferentiated. Why doesn't he become just a frenzied maniac? Again, he has a good heart, right? Good intentions are not enough. You have to feed into the goodness.
Yeah. Well, even early on, he catches cars, like when the Bat Devil or whichever one the other one was. People are like, "Oh yeah, he caught my car," but everyone, like, all of a sudden, he starts getting notoriety. Devil that saves people, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?
What's going on?"
This is a contradiction in terms, effectively."
Which is again a consequence not of the world, so to speak, but from the ego in the world. They can't differentiate between good and bad. It's get an intuition, but it can't do it explicitly, so it misnames things. Right? It can't tell if he's being heroic or if he's a devil or what. Eventually, you'll have knowledge of good and evil, and what you'll be able to do is to say, that's good, that's bad, and see it at a deep level. It's just that people who live at the matriarchal level still have these things sort of undifferentiated. They just get increasingly differentiated as we progress as a species and as you develop as an individual.
Yeah, kind of what you're saying earlier on with our tangents is like everything is, it's all just matters of scale. It's all happening. It just... at what level of resolution you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is how deep intuitive level, how well differentiated and constructed is the world for you. And you begin with no differentiation. And then as time goes on, not cognitively, because you'll have people who are in the belly of the beast who can't tell anything, that are totally in darkness, who will think a bunch of this is good, this is bad. But then they'll behave in insane ways. I think Peter Thiel is doing this. I think Peter Thiel has an intuition about his unconscious assumes that there's some kind of transcendence that needs to occur, which is true. He needs to transform. But his rational mind is misunderstanding. It's a projection onto machinery as being the transforming redemptive agent. The transformative redemptive agent is God, and God is reality itself. If you would engage with it, if you would allow yourself to let go and be in the world.
I think most people don't even understand what that means.
They have no idea.
And that
fuck does.
Yeah, I know. I was saying, I'm like, that would be a whole nother podcast for another time.
Yeah. So maybe that's another
and probably podcasts.
Books and smarter people than me.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Maybe the thing that saves Denji is saving Denji is it's something like an angel's heart kindled in service of increasingly higher purposes.
Right. It started from an act of love.
Right.
Like, Pochitas sacrificed his own body so that his friend, the person who saved him, still be alive.
Yeah. There's multiple layers or associations that are trying to get you to see that it's a death and rebirth.
Yes.
It's this self-sacrifice on behalf of his friend. So love is what will transform you from the bottom into someone who can successfully achieve more, be more. The literal sense. That's not like that. Imagine that what you are isn't your matter. It's what you attend to. It's what is underneath your will in some sense. Will is a loaded word, so I want to be a little careful with it. It's more like who you are is where you put your attention. And if you're broken apart, if you're disintegrated, and so your attention is just flickering between your different impulses, then you're in a state where you are many things. But if you can aim at one thing,
Right.
the other pieces will snap under that purpose, and you'll become one thing. And you'll actually become what you worship. I think it was, who was the poet? Keats said you become what you behold.
Oh, interesting.
It's like, yeah, that's right.
Aspirational and could be terrifying.
Well, what if you tend to the wrong thing? What if you're spending too much time watching porn?
You're stuck on Twitter or watching TikTok or something.
If you think about it quite literally, again, if all you do is attend to food, you'll become huge. If all you do is attend to your muscles, you become a bodybuilder who has worked on each of these individual muscles, like broken down groups into, like, they know all the different parts of your back or the different heads of your shoulder. They figured all these things out and they've worked on each of them individually. That's a symbol of where they put their attention. Where they've fed the muscle with their attention, and it has grown as a result of them.
Oh, that's such a good way to describe it.
And so, again, where's your attention?
Right.
Denji is being...
people should just think about that for a while.
Pause.
Write that down in a journal and just think about that. For real, like, I feel like Denji kind of learns that throughout the story. You know, every time he has a goal and achieves the goal, then he's like, well, that wasn't as fulfilling as I expected it to be. It's a never-ending, like, quest to find what might be the most fulfilling thing.
Yeah. What happens if you put your attention into a goal and then you find out there's a ceiling to that goal and you hit it and you're like, oh, I've either got it and it's not that great, or I don't know where to go from here. Even the fear of that can prevent you from pursuing the goal in the first place. But what the show offers, and I think is true, is that the goal affords higher goals. You might not know what they are, but often what happens is that if you really attend to something, you'll learn something higher from attending to it. You won't be able to know that from the outside.
Or articulate it.
But when you start out, you can't know what you're going to find until you're there, looking through it. And then you find...
And likely reflecting backwards. So there's a thing.
If you're weightlifting all the time, for example, you think you're just trying to get stronger. But what you find is a life principle. That's when you're weightlifting, you don't gain the most strength or muscle when you're lifting light weights, nor do you gain strength and muscle when you are lifting weights that are just too heavy for you. You grow the most when you overcome something that is an enormous challenge for you. That's the life lesson. In trying to become strong, you grow the most when you overcome something that's the most challenging for you.
But you can still overcome that.
Yes.
So it's the Goldilocks zone.
Yes.
It's not too easy. It's not too hard.
So
right before you fail.
See how something is concrete and base as picking up heavy weights. When you attend to it properly, gives you new purpose. And then new purpose is to find challenges that make you grow as a person, the right challenges.
That's fascinating.
It's like a fact of being. You're getting that. You're getting an inkling of that, right? It's not quite in Chainsaw Man, but like you're getting a broad structure. He hasn't differentiated it or delineated it. I don't know. He hasn't put his finger on that point, but
there's something to it though, where they have like some of the training stuff the challenges are kind of at the fringes of Denji's ability throughout the show, and he finds ways to overcome it sometimes. Well, in other parts, he gets saved. Which I don't know if we want to enter manga territory at this point.
Now would be a good time to spoiler alert everything that comes.
Thing forward here is if you're only watching the anime, we're entering spoiler territory.
Yes. I tried to get 12 today. It didn't work. They were all out. Yeah, I think so. Power is so important for what happens after.
The second half of the story is power becomes, I think, essential.
So she stops being the id and starts becoming what Reze is. Yes. So she becomes the new peer. So it's the first part of this was internal psychological, and now she's a different character. She's not the id anymore. Once she gets hurt and becomes terrified by the darkness. Yeah. And Denji has the opportunity to
traumatized is the best way to say it.
And there's certainly nudity, which suggests a kind of sexuality. But what Denji says in the volume is and so it's not him being a pervert at all. It's a rekindling of romance. But
it's like an adult version of.
He loves her. He's coming to love her.
But they don't linger on it or yeah, I know.
He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't totally get it. Reze.
I've heard it said both ways.
Reze.
It probably sounds better in Japanese than in English.
His reason for not leaving is that he's like, I don't know, I just wanted food and now I get that. And I have a stable job and I'm getting along with my coworkers. He's like, I have friends now. So it's an understanding that he's got a good life.
Yeah, he's being she will cry and he just stays with her so she feels comfortable.
It's love.
Yeah.
That's what love is.
Straight up.
Yeah, it's not all that love is, but it's what you're seeing love.
This is not where I expected this to go. I
thought it was brilliant.
When that thing, I was like,
love that it's
perfect character to have it happen to. And then and be the protector that he was already aiming to be. Now he does it not as Chainsaw Man, but as Denji.
Yeah, now he is more mature.
Having done it.
Just his maturity is displayed in doing it.
Right.
So,
and he's like, oh, sorry, I don't think I should go right now. Yeah. Still going through it, right?
To
turn down. So, like what you said, what do you put your effort into?
If I remember correctly, he turns down Makima.
I think so, yeah.
For power, which is telling you something.
Yeah.
He's leaving the matriarchate for the establishment of a real relationship with a peer. In a healthy and caring way.
Totally.
And that he's there first as friends. And then there's the element of this kind of simple love.
Right, and a development of a connection that's deeper than just...
Yeah. And it's not adolescent either.
It's through this mundane daily contact. Yeah.
I think that part of what happens when you're an adolescent is that the reason everything is so meaningful and it has this kind of whimsy and gaiety to it is that you're projecting onto this young woman a million things.
Whatever that is.
What has to happen to some degree as you get older is that you come to understand an individual and not a projection, not an ideal human being or whatever. And so the starry-eyedness fades away, but then you actually get to meet somebody. And it's real.
Yeah, you understand them as they are, as they come, not what you hoped they would be. And I wouldn't even say expect.
Yeah, you're trading a fantasy for reality.
Of course. You can in a fantasy all day.
Yeah.
I feel like our modern world is obsessed with fantasy.
It's why people are disappearing into AI girlfriends.
Disappearing into the internet.
It's a horror show, and they should understand that and I'm not being just hyperbolic here. I mean, they're going to hell when they're doing that. And that hell it's the total disconnection, and you will be miserable. Absolutely. It won't make things better. It will make things so much worse.
Yeah.
Get that while you can before the machine learns how to own you.
Yeah, and ground yourself in something real.
There was a really crazy paper that I read a while back that's awesome. There's a woman who had problems with pill addiction in the past, And her doctors were like, she had a major surgery. Her doctors were like, can't give her these pills. Like, she's going to go crazy. What if we circumvent like that by putting they basically put a little electrode into the pleasure center of her brain and gave her a button. So she could click the button and that would release the pleasure and it would help numb the pain.
It was like a dopamine.
First off, this is the stupidest thing those doctors could have done. It's like, it's not the pills that she's addicted to. It's what the pills do.
Right. Well, this is the problem of modern medicine.
And she got to the point where she was clicking this button so much, she had a sore on her thumb from
just hitting the button.
She begged and pleaded, crying with her family and doctors to remove this thing. Please take this out of me. It's killing me. And then when they would try to take it from her, she would fight them like a feral cat.
That's insane.
Okay. That woman is in hell. All right. You think you're going to want to be in the pleasure machine and how great that's going to be. It will eat you alive. You'll totally lose yourself. Everything, it will destroy you. It will rip you apart. There's all these myths about this, like in the maenads being a collection of women that would go feral and rip animals apart. It's the same idea. Actaeon is the best example. He was a hunter in Greek myth who happens upon a naked Artemis, and her beauty is there.
Yeah, he's like blown away by her beauty. Yeah.
And she becomes angry at him for seeing her naked. And she turns him into a doe whom his own dogs tear apart. So there's this idea that too much attention on sexuality will turn you into an animal and then tear you apart. It's like, I will get off that AI girlfriend bullshit.
Yeah.
Until I'm stoked about rockets going to space and Doge doesn't bother me, but like to some degree I'm like, fuck off, Elon, why are you doing this nonsense?
Well, just all the AI stuff.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. To foreshadow, we will be talking about more AI things in some of those earlier episodes when the AI image generators was first coming out. People have enjoyed those, so I don't know. We have a lot to say on that front. It's like the sweet spot between technology and philosophy.
Just pull up one article and you and I just talked about it for 20 minutes.
Oh, totally. We're thinking about new formats as we speak.
So back to Chainsaw Man.
Man, do we want to elaborate? Because we've definitely elaborated power in Denji. Do we want to spill the beans on Makima? Bring it full circle.
So as Denji establishes a relationship with a peer, it reveals Makima to be controlling. She's the control devil. That's what she does.
And it makes total sense. Once this is from, you're like, oh, God damn it.
It's not control like surveillance state control.
Even though they whisper about it.
Similar idea, but it's controlling the behavior of the character.
I feel like she knows how to pull the strings of people.
She knows how to pull strings.
It's once you know what she's doing, you see the breadcrumbs of how she interacts with people she like sees inside their soul and knows what.
And destroys his relationships.
So that they dance for her, what she wants. Yeah. But she makes you feel like that's what you wanted all along. Yeah.
This is the dark side of femininity, is that it's manipulative. Like a borderline personality disorder there's a much higher rate of suicide and suicide attempts than the normal female population. But what the psychologists realize is that it's not a result of them wanting to die. It's because they use threats of suicide to manipulate people. And that what happens is they accidentally kill themselves at greater rates.
Really?
So you have the female version of a psychopath. That's how you can think about borderline personality disorder. Manipulating people from behind the scenes. So everything it's veiled. It's implicit. It's covert.
Oh, one of the notes I had is she has manipulation through affection.
Yes.
Yeah, because she makes you do something because she makes you feel like she likes you in some way. Like teases, like she does it to Denji a ton throughout the story. And she's always, the other part is she's kind of like an authoritarian fantasy because she's always above everything else. She's never a piece.
She's the head of that world. You could think of a principality as being the body and an angel being the head of that body. That's how like medieval Christendom thinks about these things. And so Makima is the name of a principality, this body underneath her. And Denji is part of that body. He's being controlled by it. He's under her spell, however you want to put it. Right.
I feel like part of the story, now that we can talk about, is him learning how to break free from that spell.
Yes.
And it's even more explicit now that you've explained the Neumann,
the
chain of being. Because part of like the unveiling of what Makima is, and I think it's also why the show is sometimes so goddamn depressing, because it's like you feel the climax going one way, and then all of a sudden he's like with her as she finally uses her powers on him.
Yeah.
And then power opens the door. Breaking down of everything did over the last 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
And I think, was it before this that he fights Aki?
Before.
So even before that, it's already starting to crumble because Aki senses something. And he's having like this premonition because he has the future devil in one of his eyes. And so he sees like a premonition that
he learns that Denji is going to kill both him and Power. And he's trying to stop this. But
right. So he runs to Makima to like, hey, I don't know if I can go through with this. And can I be pulled off this mission, which is to go after the gun devil?
Yeah. But then she, of course, manipulates him and says, oh, actually, I'm going to still take those two with me anyway. Yeah. And then he goes, well, now I have to go. Right. So she gets what she wants. The whole idea there, psychologically, is that you're seeing what will happen in some sense if you stay too long in that part of your life.
Arrested development.
Yeah. It'll kill your superego. So it'll kill your representation. You won't be civilized anymore. And then it will cut you off from even your instincts. Right. Even that vitality, it will cut you off from and turn you into nothing more than a house pet.
I guess that's where she becomes.
She's ambiguous as the great mother. And then as Makima tries to develop, the goodness is in establishing a new relationship. And then the devouring mother, she becomes a devouring mother. So she's no longer ambiguous. Right. And so when she becomes a devouring mother, she kills his civility, all of that masculine vitality in the world to achieve purposes and do these things, and then kills even his vitality and instinct. Yeah. And he becomes just dead inside.
And then he becomes the gun fiend. The guy whose whole goal in life was to kill the gun devil.
Or Denji becomes the chainsaw devil. Aki becomes the gun fiend who's given, I assuming, some power.
It's like he's chasing at this thing so hard that he becomes the very, to use the Star Wars quote, he becomes the very thing he swore to do.
Of course, it's worth noting, too, that stepping a little bit out of the psychological thing is or psychoanalytic perspective on the whole show. It's interesting that the Denji is also in the matriarchy.
Yeah.
He's also under Makima. And that, so the purposes, you get distorted. It might be a cautionary tale in some sense with Aki, in that it's another one of these you become what you behold moments, where it's that you can become so fixated on something that it will reduce you down to it.
Yeah.
And so you need to be careful.
If you're above.
It's why Jonathan Pageau will make a comment to be like, if you're too fixated, if you're too concerned about all the dark things in the world, it's probably a sign that your attention is not in the right place. It's okay to recognize that things are bad, maybe getting worse, and that there's all these dangers everywhere. But when that's happening, it's better to focus on the high purpose, the good. Focus on the good.
Right, it's better to aim on.
And when you encounter the dark things, you'll be more able to deal with them.
I mean, there's a quote I've heard about this. It's not just having something to run away from. It's like something to run toward. Right? Like you can't just...
If you're just looking at the demons, all the terrifying, horrible things in the world, when you meet a real one, when you really encounter it, you'll crumble because you've been building the fear of it up in yourself for decades. And now finally, here's the thing.
You have no tools to counteract it.
Right. It will show you what it is, and you'll have practiced freaking out for the last decade. And then right in that moment, you'll implode. What you need instead is to focus on this high purpose that solidifies you and makes you so that when you encounter those things, they just bounce right off you. Maybe you have to destroy that obstacle on the way to this good thing and really confront it. Or maybe you just brush it off and you become like Leonidas in 300 when he goes to meet Xerxes and there's all these temptations around. It just doesn't matter. It's not that you don't notice it. It's that
his sense of purpose doesn't matter. It's totally off his radar.
It's totally irrelevant. Even the evil can become irrelevant to you in some sense, in that it's only made relevant in the way in which it can be transformed into the good or needs to be negated for the good.
So is this how do we explain then like the Black Chainsaw Man? Is this like someone who like loses their purpose entirely but then comes back from the edge?
I think
somehow that is what it, because it took me a while to, and I still don't really have a good grasp, because it was the systematic breakdown of everything Denji hoped for in his life as predicated by this crazy manipulation by Makima.
Right.
Built up this perfect life, so to speak, and then every step of the way just chipped away to bring him back to base.
Yeah. I think he turned into a monster. He worshipped the wrong thing for too long. And then it destroyed him, broke him all the way down to becoming nothing but a monster.
Right. He became the real devil.
And it's worth noting that that devil in particular is one that resides in hell. That's its place, is that it goes there to kill the devils in hell.
Yeah. It's the devil that all the devils fear in hell.
So he's below where he ever was before.
And she said it too, that the Chainsaw Man, his lore, at least in hell, is that if you get killed by him to exist as an idea.
Right.
No, either. Because she said that all devils get reborn after some period of time after being killed.
I have a feeling that this will be elaborated in the next section.
Sounds like it.
And it's because the way he gets saved, he's established this humble relationship out of love and care for her in her time of need.
Well, Puchita also is the one who pulls her out of hell.
You have a reciprocal death and rebirth. Puchita, so his good heart resurrects her in her time of need, and she resurrects him in his. So that's got to be the next arc.
Totally sets it up.
Right. So now we've shifted. It ends with Denji defeating.
He doesn't rely on the Chainsaw Man's power. He relies on his own ability to solve problems.
Right. So it's him as a man. You can think about it that way. In the world, not in his own head. He's not fighting internal forces. He's confronting it as a man.
Yeah.
And he succeeds, and then he assimilates her. So metaphors of consumption are usually about bringing something into you and making it a part of you. And so he makes this element, the matriarchate, right?
Well, something is the way you probably think about it.
He subordinates it to a higher way of being, not just a purpose. He ascends to a new level of being. Right? He overcomes the matriarchate and then moves on to something else. That something else is now, I think the head of that principality is the anima, a genuine established relationship with a peer.
Now he has a reason to check for after power.
And the family dynamics, all this.
Because there's the little girl that shows up, which is the new control devil, or at least that's implied.
It tells you something, because now
he's big brother.
He's above her.
Yes. He's subordinate. When they say like all devils have like a want, like a thing they desire most, and they said something about the control devil has only ever wanted a genuine hug.
Yeah.
So for her to have some sort of physical connection, like a real connection.
Yeah.
So he gets to do it, quote unquote, right.
Yeah. And I read that and I was like, that's perfect. Yeah. Like, yes, that is
so good. So the question is,
like,
what are the other vices, or like the desires of the other devils, is kind of the question you could ask. It's so well done. It's like a weird poetic nature to it, equally horrifying, but then seeing how it kind of flipped at the end, where Denji comes through it and doesn't rely on just being Chainsaw Man. He has to think outside the box, because he realizes that we kind of glossed over it, but Makima's whole point is that she deified the Chainsaw Man. And where Denji had read it that she was seeing him as in Denji, when in reality she never saw him as Denji at all.
Yeah.
She saw him as what he could be.
Yeah, as a machine, an object. Literally only seeing his utility, right, which she can manipulate and control, not the human being. Right.
And she's outsmarted by him.
That ambiguity, but
yeah,
not the thing that is subtler, the thing that's alive and living, not just something you can turn into an object and manipulate, which is always what kills that certainty, that domineering control is always what's outside of its understanding. Because it doesn't believe there's anything outside.
Dude, I knew there was so much more depth to this than it looks like. I could feel it just beneath the surface.
It resonates because everybody knows the story.
The graphics and the art are just insane and over the top. But then it's like when you just take a moment to let it sink in a little bit more. Like, look at how much elaborated just in the hour and a half we've been talking.
It's fun too, because in some sense it's deceptive because it's so gross and it's super base and everything, but it's like, I'm like, yeah, it would be.
It's also unsettling.
If you live in this in this belly of the beast in the Ouroboros, in the most concrete, in this base materialism would be another example. If you revel in what's base, it is gross. It is gross. It's the mud and the mire and what's sordid and disgusting. And it's when you reduce a person, a human being to birthing person, when you reduce a person to their physicality, you think of a woman as just being her breasts, the meat of a human being.
Whatever their physical representation is.
Right, and you're not understanding them as really a soul, as a pattern of being under which all that matter is organized. It's what animates that thing.
Oh, that's right. What is Denji being animated by throughout the entire story?
Anima literally means soul. Anima becomes animate to give it a pattern of being. Okay, we are animated by something, by a spirit. Like that's what it is. There's a pattern of Joe Jakowski that exists. And that pattern is what organizes the collection of intelligences underneath, that constitute me. So if you're living in the base world, all you can see is the matter. That's it. And all the grossness, all the most concrete things, you aren't sophisticated enough to see what's above it, what's organizing these things. The intelligence is above them. As you ascend, it gets easier.
Is this idea of the soul, like negative reflex to the idea of a Frankenstein, like the monster? It's an amalgamation of body parts, multiple people. So if your body is inhabited by a specific soul, like a fingerprint, right? That means your soul has a unique fingerprint. So that when you start interweaving a bunch of different body parts, those body parts are expecting a certain fingerprint.
The fingerprint here is something like the form.
Yes.
There's a form that exists, this platonic form that exists, that your matter comes to occupy. That there's all this matter in the world. Some of it's food, right? So it's just pure energy, whatever it happens to be. It's pulled in to a place and assembled to occupy a form.
You can't just interchange it and say, you're good.
What's crazy is that the form persists and continues to pull in matter. Every 7 years or whatever, all of the cells in your body are replaced. So you're materially not the same. And for something like a base materialist, they have to say not the same person. But for somebody who can see that the pattern transcends the matter, that there's...
Well, and the fact that you have a continuity of thought.
Which is...
throughout decades.
There's all these problems that are emerging in sciences when they're thinking about these things. So like, how does the continuity exist? How is there a consciousness that persists across all the changes in the matter?
And the fact that you can literally think about, like now that we're in our 30s, I can literally think back to a time in my 20s or my early teenage years and say, oh yeah, I used to think like this. And I totally reject it.
You can reject it. You can transcend it.
Or just...
A transcendence isn't... This is the confusion.
Maybe I'm using rejection too strongly. Like just embody it, but be emotionally driven by that way of being.
That's the transcendence. The transcendence is a subordinating and superordinating principle. Our culture is very confused. It thinks that transcendence and transgression are the same thing. And if you break the thing, then you have power over the thing. And therefore you've transcended it.
There's a lot of obsession with breaking.
Yes.
Motion happening.
Power is about what you can grab.
Because I feel like that's part of what people misinterpret this story.
Power's name isn't the power that grasps and manipulates and domineers. It's power as vitality. It's an inner fire. Right? Yeah, it is the passions. Yeah, it is passion. And you see how that is power. It is like fire. It's an engine. It gets you moving. It's not the same kind of power as what Makima is doing.
No.
What people are confused about now is that we think about power. You can use whatever word you want. We exclusively about power as the Makima kind of power. Domineering.
But that's what I was thinking too, is like you can look at the system conspires against the downtrodden of the world.
Yeah. And it's worship of power is the end of the world. It's the end of the world.
And then it's all about break it down.
Yeah.
Until there's nothing left.
And we think that the way to get out of even our bad habits of thought and all of our traumas and all these things is to, in some sense, break ourselves, to break what represents the thing we hate. You see people who had terrible, domineering religious fathers and were even abusive. They project that relationship onto society at large. Right? They call this
so they take the experience
and then,
at a larger scale.
Right. And then to try to transcend the damage that their father caused, they tried to transgress the society that they think is like a representation of the father. They're conflating the father with their father.
Right.
And the father is culture. Their father is just their father. And so all they can see in the father is that horrible thing that he was. And then to try to transcend the damage he did to them, they transgress against the father. We haven't seen the patriarch or patriarchate emerge in Chainsaw Man.
I was going to say that probably would be next.
You'd have it because the anima is an offshoot of the Great Mother. It's actually an offshoot of maybe the Good Mother. It's strange. You basically have the feminine, and then one feature of the feminine is the anima. And the anima can actually have a good or bad valence too. You can have a siren and you can have a muse and a siren.
They share the same musical connotation.
The difference is one inspires you.
Yeah,
one pulls you down again.
One's a rapture.
One consumes you, just like the devouring mother. And then one inspires you.
It's a directionality.
You look for in life what pulls you up.
And that's exactly what power does for Denji by the end of the show. And she becomes a new embodiment of Puchita. Because Puchita has done everything he can do to push Denji upward. And so now he needs something new that he can use as fuel to climb forward. Which is now something outside of himself. Heart found something else to latch onto.
And if she's like the next rung on the ladder, help him ascend, spiritually transcend.
It's like if you overly focus on yourself, you'll end up descending. But eventually you need to look outside yourself to fix your own flaws.
Just identified Lucifer.
Oh.
Lucifer is me. Lucifer is me. And if I put me, my mind, my intellect, this thinking ego thing, as the highest value, thinking that I'm going to make myself transcend, instead of recognizing that what transcends you is outside of yourself, you will fall.
I guess Aki was kind of that character.
Ferric?
Yeah.
And that he was worshiping himself. Yeah, no, he was after.
Well, no, he was a revenge. He was a revenge arc.
A mix of revenge and a mix of still being under the auspices or aegis of Makima. You know, Lucifer.
It's kind of the people who think they're above it, and then they
usually Darth Vader. There's even an homage. There's a painting I think called something like the Fallen Angel. It's a pretty famous painting. You see an angel looking over his arm, and you just kind of see his eyes, and they're both angry and filled with tears. Red.
That's the picture of Anakin when he goes dark.
It's someone whose pride, who thought, me, I'm in control. I do everything. I transform myself. That person watching it all collapse, instead of saying, oh, I fucked up, I worshiped the wrong thing, they say it's reality's fault. I'm still perfect. I still get to be perfect. I still get to worship myself. It's just reality that's wrong. Yeah. And now they hate God. And they, again, keep themselves.
They make them the centers of the universe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so Anakin is the same way. They don't actually do a good job in the movies of.
Unfortunately.
There's a lot in Star Wars that's confused. The dark side should be the light side, because light is a symbol of consciousness. You're awake during the day. It's light out. It's a symbol of what's ordered, what you can see, what you can determine, what's certain is what's light. The dark side is what's mysterious, what's implicit, what's hidden, what you don't understand. The Jedi are avatars of that way of being. They're actually the dark side, and the dark side is actually the light side.
It's miscolored.
It's because I like Star Wars, but it doesn't really know what it's doing. And I think that it's probably time in the culture to grow up a little bit. And as much as I liked Star Wars, to understand that it's a childlike version.
Yeah, I think it was necessary because there's nothing ever like that, or at least hadn't been anything like that.
Yeah.
In decades, probably.
And we needed it. We were trying to work these things out and figuring it out, and it captured our attention for good reason. But now it's time to grow up. Now it's time to. Dune is better at this, but Dune still doesn't quite get it. It's way more sophisticated. It still thinks transcendence is transgression. It thinks that the way that you get out of the great mother archetypes and these narratives is by sort of breaking them, that they in themselves are bad and that they're just tools. He's very postmodern in this way, that these religious narratives are something that enslave us. But no, they don't. They do and they don't.
Well, it depends on how you.
It's just like the great mother or your mother. Even a good mother will help you ascend, but if you stay there too long, then it will destroy you and enslave you. It's just like with these religious narratives. You move through the matriarchy. You move into the era of the hero. And then these things don't disappear. They become subordinated. That's what transcendence is. They become a subordinate feature of something.
I'm starting to see the interplay going on here. I think this is a motif that plays out. It's the story of Luke Skywalker. But then as soon as you start trying to incorporate more of the concentric circles of the different stories that play out, it starts to fall apart. It was focused around this. And once you try to expand it, it starts to get wishy-washy. And then Dune is trying to potentially be a counterpoint to the hero's journey. Like, what if the hero's journey the wrong? Like, what if happens is Luke Skywalker really was Darth Vader kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's like maybe the people pick the Messiah, and then the people use that as a vehicle to do whatever the fuck they really wanted to do.
You tell that Edward's kind of afraid of these religious things.
I think he's scared about the mob.
I think he spent time with the Bedouins.
Did he really?
And they're the people on Arrakis are a version of fundamental Islam.
The religious zealots.
Yeah. And it's true that exists. There's no doubt about it. The question is which of these stories and that we can occupy afford the next level. And I'm kind of unabashedly becoming Christian in this, is that the one that we know for sure that affords liberal democracy, at least, of the kind that we've had for the last 50 years, is Christianity. It's not that, like, we should stay medieval Christians. No. It's that there's something coming. Yeah. That should be, I pray to God, something like a Renaissance that helps us open our minds up again, see things in a new way, and then hopefully see where is technological progress belongs. And we don't have to throw away the Enlightenment. We just have to know where science and all these things rests in a hierarchy of values.